Imagine spending 2 years building a product. The team works late, every feature is polished, and launch day finally arrives. Then almost nobody wants it. That kind of failure is painful because the work may have been excellent. It was simply built around assumptions that were never tested. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries asks a better question. Before we spend more time and money, how can we learn whether the idea actually works? This is not only a book for people launching technology companies. It is for anyone creating something new when the outcome is uncertain. And its main lesson is surprisingly simple. Progress is not how much you build. Progress is how much truth you discover. Eric Ries defines a startup as a human institution designed to create a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. Notice what is missing. He does not mention garages, venture capital, or company size. A new team inside a global corporation can be a startup. So can a nonprofit testing a new service, or one person trying to turn a side project into a business? The defining feature is uncertainty. You do not yet know exactly who the customer is, what they value, or how the idea will grow. Traditional management is excellent when the road is known, but a detailed map is not very useful when you are still trying to discover the destination. So the job of a startup is not just execution, it is learning. That brings us to validated learning. Startups often tell comforting stories. People loved the presentation. Website traffic increased. We finished every feature on schedule. But none of those facts proves that a sustainable business is taking shape. Validated learning means using real customer behavior to test a specific belief. Did people use the product? Did they return? Did they pay? Did they recommend it without being pushed? This distinction matters because being busy can feel exactly like making progress. Think about something you are working on right now. What evidence would genuinely prove that it creates value? Not compliments, not hope, actual behavior. The Lean Startup treats every new idea as a set of hypotheses waiting to meet reality. Two assumptions deserve attention first. The value hypothesis asks whether the product creates enough value for people to keep using it. The growth hypothesis asks how new customers will discover it. Will existing users invite friends? Will advertising pay for itself? Will people return so reliably that growth compounds over time? These are leap of faith assumptions because the whole plan depends on them. Suppose you want to launch an app that helps people cook healthier meals. Your beautiful recipe library is not the biggest risk. The bigger questions are whether people will actually follow the plans and whether they will come back next week. Test the fragile assumption first. Otherwise, you may spend months perfecting the least important part of the idea. This leads to the engine at the center of the book: build, measure, learn. You turn an idea into the smallest useful experiment. You measure what customers actually do. Then you learn whether the original assumption survives. The goal is not to race through the building stage. It is to shorten the entire loop. And here is the part one find especially useful. Although the loop is written build, measure, learn, planning happens backward. First decide what you need to learn. Then decide what evidence would answer the question. Only then decide what must be built to collect that evidence. That reversal can save an enormous amount of work. Instead of asking, what features can we add? Ask, what is the fastest honest test of our belief? The tool for running that test is the minimum viable product, or MVP. This phrase is often misunderstood. It does not mean making something careless and calling it innovation. It means creating the smallest version that can complete one honest build, measure, learn cycle. Sometimes that version barely resembles the future company. When Nick Swinburne wanted to find out whether people would buy shoes online, he did not begin with warehouses and a huge inventory. He photographed shoes in local stores, posted the pictures online, and bought a pair from the shop only when a customer placed an order. That simple experiment tested real demand. It also forced him to handle payment, returns, and customer service. The experiment eventually became Zappos. The vision was large. The first test was small. An MVP does not even have to be a complete product. Before Dropbox built reliable software across many operating systems, the founders faced a problem. People did not really understand why seamless file synchronization mattered. Building everything first would take too long. So Drew Houston made a short demonstration video showing how the product would work. He filled it with little references that appealed to the early technology community he wanted to reach. The result was not polite interest. Dropbox waiting list reportedly jumped from about 5,000 people to 75,000 overnight. The video tested whether the promise was compelling before the full technical risk had been taken. So ask yourself, are you building the final solution or the fastest credible way to test demand? Once the experiment is running, measurement becomes the next trap. Large numbers can make almost any project look healthy. Total downloads rise. Registered users accumulate. A publicity campaign creates a sudden spike. Eric Ries calls these vanity metrics. They make us feel successful without showing what caused the result or what to do next. Actionable metrics behave differently. They connect a specific change to a specific customer response. Cohort analysis is one useful example. Instead of mixing every customer into one impressive total, compare the people who joined in January with those who joined in February. Did the February group activate faster, stay longer, or buy more after the product changed? If the new group behaves better, you learn something. If not, the improvement may exist only in the presentation. This is the purpose of innovation accounting: to measure progress when ordinary accounting cannot yet tell the full story. The process has 3 steps. First, use an MVP to establish a real baseline. How many users try the product? How many return? How many pay? Next, run experiments to move those numbers toward a sustainable model. Finally, face the difficult decision: pivot or persevere. There is something refreshingly honest about this approach. A team cannot hide forever behind effort, deadlines, or a passionate speech about the future. The evidence has to improve. And if repeated changes do not move the numbers, working harder on the same plan may not be courage. It may simply be an expensive refusal to learn. A pivot is not starting over randomly. It is a structured change in strategy while keeping one foot anchored in what you have learned. Maybe one feature turns out to be the whole product. That is a zoom-in pivot. Maybe the product works, but for a different customer group. That is a customer segment pivot. You might change the channel, the pricing model, the technology, or the engine of growth. The important thing is that the vision can remain steady while the path changes. Perseverance sounds heroic, which makes pivoting emotionally difficult. But repeated experiments create a meeting with reality. Is the evidence improving enough to continue, or has a critical assumption failed? The question is not, did we work hard? It is, did we learn enough to choose wisely? The lean startup also challenges our instinct to work in large batches. Imagine stuffing 100 envelopes. Most people fold all 100 letters, then place all 100 into envelopes, then seal the entire pile. It feels efficient because each motion is repeated. But if the envelopes are too small, you may discover the mistake only after folding everything. With single-piece flow, you complete one envelope from beginning to end. The first finished piece exposes problems immediately. Software and creative work behave in a similar way. A huge release hides defects and false assumptions for months. Small batches create faster feedback, lower risk, and less work trapped in the pipeline. Speed does not come from doing more at once. It often comes from discovering mistakes sooner. Growth needs the same precision. The book describes 3 engines. The sticky engine depends on retention. Growth happens when new customers arrive faster than existing customers leave. The viral engine depends on customers bringing more customers. If every user reliably attracts more than one new user, growth can compound quickly. The paid engine works when the value earned from a customer is greater than the cost of acquiring that customer. None of these engines is powered by vague popularity. Each has a number that matters most: churn, viral conversion, or the relationship between lifetime value and acquisition cost. Which engine is your project actually using? Without that answer, a team can celebrate attention while missing the mechanism that must become sustainable. Moving quickly creates mistakes, of course. The answer is not heavy bureaucracy. It is learning from the root cause. Eric Ries recommends the 5 whys. Suppose a new release breaks a feature. Why? A server failed. Why? A system was used incorrectly. Why? The engineer did not know the correct procedure. Why? There was no training. Why? The team believed it was too busy to train new people. What looked like a technical problem was actually a management problem. The point is not to mechanically ask, why exactly 5 times? It is to move past the visible symptom and make a proportional investment in preventing it. Fix only the fuse, and the same failure returns. Improve the system, and the organization becomes faster because it stops repeating old mistakes. These ideas also work inside established organizations, but only if teams are given room to experiment. Ries suggests an innovation sandbox, a limited environment where a small cross-functional team can test a real idea with real customers. The experiment affects only a defined segment. It runs for a limited time. The team owns it from beginning to end, watches customer reactions, and reports a small set of actionable metrics. That balance matters. The company limits the damage of failure without smothering the experiment in approvals. It is a useful principle beyond business too. When a change feels risky, do not argue about it forever and do not expose everything at once. Define the boundaries, run a small honest test, and let evidence improve the next decision. The deeper idea behind the lean startup is not launch bad products quickly. It is to stop wasting human effort on plans that have not earned confidence. Keep the vision, but treat the strategy as a hypothesis. Identify the assumption that could destroy the whole idea. Build the smallest credible experiment. Measure behavior instead of applause. Learn whether to improve, pivot, or stop. Then repeat the loop. Faster than uncertainty can drain your time and money. This works for a new company, a product inside a large organization, a creative project, or even a service you are considering offering on your own. The most useful question is no longer, how much did we finish? It is, what did reality teach us? So here is one practical step you can take today. Write down the idea you are most excited about. Underneath it, write the assumption that must be true for it to work. Then design one small test that could prove you wrong. That last part matters. A test designed only to confirm your hope will not teach you very much. I would love to know what you are building and which assumption you need to test first. Leave your answer in the comments. And tell me which book you would like to explore next. This channel turns the world's most valuable books into clear ideas you can understand and use, one book at a time. One book, 10 minutes. Better you.